What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about something I see people constantly consider, but never have I seen a dedicated video on the subject, and that's 10 things I wish I could change about solo queue. Joining me again today is Nasty. For those of you who don't know him, he's a master tier support main, and he also has a YouTube channel, and the link is down in the description if you want to check him out.
What's up, guys? Like he said, I'm Nasty, and yeah, I'm just happy to be here and help out.
Without further ado, let's jump into the first thing that I would change about solo queue. Alright guys, so the first thing that I wish I could change about solo queue, and this one probably comes as no surprise, but I did want to lead with it because it's by far the most frustrating, and that's autofill. I understand why Riot includes this in their matchmaking system. It's meant to reduce queue times, especially at the higher elos, but I'm pretty sure most players are okay with waiting a few extra minutes in queue if it means getting one of their roles every game. So yeah, the first thing I wish I could change is definitely to just rid of autofill once and for all, and allow me to not deal with people tilting pretty much right off the get-go because people are bitching about not getting their role in champion select. Nasty, I'm sure you probably have similar thoughts on this one because you get autofilled a lot when we do a queue, but do you have a separate opinion on this, or do you agree with me?
No, I 100% absolutely agree. I think autofill is just an absolute horrible addition to the game. And yeah, I understand what its intentions were. Its intentions were to just reduce queue times. But like you said, I would personally much rather wait a few minutes than to have to get into a game and be autofilled myself or be matched with somebody else on my team that's autofilled. And it's just a really horrible feeling when you get into a game and you feel like it's lost in champion select because you have somebody that's autofilled, you're autofilled yourself, and you just had a huge setback, and I really wish that wasn't an aspect of the game.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's like, games should not be decided in champion select. I should not be at a disadvantage because of the autofill system.
Alright, so this next one can probably play off of autofill a little bit, and that is, it has to do with dodging, basically. So I think dodging should not be as big as a punishment in the game because there's just so many situations that can go bad for you in a champion select, such as somebody being autofilled, or like if somebody's toxic, or if you get into champion select and there's just people that are complaining about a previous game they played with each other. Like there's just so many bad situations that can come up, and I wish you could dodge more often without having to be punished for it. Maybe like a consistent -3 LP rather than 10 on the second dodge. So what do you think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, there's too many games that, like I was saying, there's too many games that get ruined in champion select, and I don't think players that are trying to be a model player and trying to be positive in their games and trying to climb, I don't think that these players should get punished for other players being toxic in champion select. People that get autofilled and just start bitching the whole time and are like, you know, they lock in something really troll because they got autofilled. I think that the players that are doing their best to be a team player should not be penalized for other people being whack jobs in champion select, and I think starting with reducing the punishment on dodging would be a great way to help out these players. So absolutely 100%. I think that dodging you get punished 3 LP and then you get punished 10 LP and like a 30-minute wait time just for dodging twice. Like there's a good chance that you're going to get 2 trolls in a row in champions. Like that's not something that doesn't happen very often. Like that happens to me all the time and I just have to deal with it because I can't dodge twice. So yeah, definitely. Alright guys, moving on to the third thing I wish I could change about solo queue, and this one goes very hand in hand with the one that we just mentioned. In my opinion, it's just a separate resolution to the issue, and I think it would really improve solo queue, and that's to give you 1 free dodge a day without losing LP or getting a dodge penalty. Some games, like I said, are just completely lost in champion select. While losing 3 LP isn't that bad, I just don't think you should be penalized for having trolls in your game lobby. And this also brings up a question about dodging in promotion series. I think that if you haven't yet dodged that day, it makes sense to give a free dodge, even in promos, in the event that you get screwed over and you need a mulligan.
All right, next up, I want to actually touch up on this topic that's very sensitive, I guess, and it's very popular since the League community is quite well known for being toxic, and that is I think players should get banned more frequently. I think players should receive small bans because I feel like this toxicity in the League community needs to be addressed, and I feel like it's just a really horrible feeling when I get matched with a toxic player and they completely ruin the game, and then I have to go back into queue anticipating getting them again and not being fully aware that they're going to be punished, and I just really don't want to be matched with these players when I know they're just going to ruin the game for me. So I hope these toxic players would just be punished more often. What do you think about that?
This is a tough one because, like you said, there are so many toxic players in this community. We would almost have to ban like 50% of the players, you know, if we held them to those standards. I do think that there could be some like additions to the punishment system, maybe like adding in more smaller bans, like 24-hour bans, 48-hour bans. I don't know if those exist, but I feel like when people get banned, it's either like a 2-week suspension or like a permaban. It would be very difficult for Riot to actually implement a system where they're banning pretty much everyone on first offense or even on second offense, because we would have so many banned players. With that being said, I do think there has to be something done. I just don't know if that's specifically the thing that they can do, but yeah, I think the discussion should be had, though, about whether or not players are getting banned enough. Alright, so moving on to the fifth thing that I wish I could change in solo queue. This is a very simple thing in my opinion, but it could go a really long way, and that's to add a demotion warning. Getting demoted shouldn't be a mystery. If I enter a game at 0 LP and losing means demotion, I want to know that I'm going to get demoted before playing. I think it would be really nice to have an icon or something that appears next to your rank when you're one loss away from demotion. It wouldn't necessarily change the outcome of the game, but it would allow me to make the right decisions in champion select, like dodging when we have a full AD team or an autofilled support or really anything that I don't like, and making sure I pick my best champion during this game. Do you think that that would be a good addition to the game, or do you think this is stupid?
No, absolutely. I think that's a really good addition to the game. I've never actually thought about that myself, but the more you talk about it, the more I like it. And actually, at the time of making this video, I'm actually sitting at 0 OP, so I would absolutely love to have this feature in the game. So I think it's kind of more of just to mentally prepare yourself, I guess, more than anything. Because obviously you should go into every game with the mindset of trying to win. But when you're on the edge of getting demoted, I think your mindset should change just a little bit to kind of focus more in on the game. So I really wish that feature was in the game right now for me.
I'm at Diamond 3 0 LP as well, and like part of the reason why I'm not playing is because I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to get demoted, and if I am about to get demoted, that's fine, but like I know that I'm going to be like super cautious about the game. I'm not going to fuck around with some troll in my champions like lobby. I'll just dodge and I'll go down to -3 LP, but at least I'm not going to get demoted, right? And that could save me from just a horrible setback, because one demotion could lead to the next, and it would just be so helpful just to know like I'm going to get demoted if I lose this game.
All right, for this next one, I'd kind of like to think that this is a unique idea as well. And that is, I think there should be a spot designated for your control ward. And I say this because there's so many plays that you can make, so many objectives that you can take playing around your vision control. And late game, it's just really, really frustrating when you want to make these plays, but you don't even have a spot for your control ward. So you're just taking a Baron or taking a Dragon with a 50-50 because you don't have complete vision. And I just really wish they would implement this into the game so that these objectives would be less of a risk almost, but at the same time, it would reward players for getting proper vision.
Yeah, and so do you think that these spots should have, like, you can have one ward, or is it like before you can have 2, or is it now 3 control wards? I don't really actually even know. But do you think that you should be able to carry multiple control wards, or just 1 in your inventory?
No, I think it should definitely still be 3, but I think it should just have its own like little spot next to the trinket ward. I don't know if this is like a dumb idea. I guess it just makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, I mean, I think that would be really helpful.
You're a support main, I'm a jungle main. We're probably the ones that the ward the most often. So I do think that if I could, you know, continue to buy wards once I maxed out my build, especially as Lee Sin, that would be really nice. I mean, I have my tracker's knife, I have my yellow trinket, which I'm always gonna have, but I don't have any way of getting rid of vision on Lee Sin because I do need my trinket ward to ward jump. So yeah, I think a control ward to help me get control around the map would be extremely helpful. And like you said, it would reward players for, you know, trying to play more strategically. So yeah, absolutely, I think that could be a good addition. I think that should bring up the discussion about other items being having their separate slot, but you know, I could be wrong. But I think control ward, absolutely. Alright, now not everything that I personally want to change about solo queue happens in champion select. I want to focus my last 2 changes on stuff that actually happens inside the Rift. And the next thing I wish I could change is chat. This might be an unpopular opinion, but in probably 99% of my games, the chat has either a negative effect or no effect on the outcome of the game. And I think everyone should just have a chat restriction every game. If you don't know what a chat restriction is, it's where Riot limits you to only 5 messages every 10 minutes of the game or something. And I think if everyone had this, it would reduce the amount of games that are lost due to mindless fodder in chat, and overall just the blatant toxicity that you see during games. I think chat is an important functionality, but with limitations, it would be way more useful, and the amount of abuse in games would be cut pretty hard. And keep in mind, this is just for ranked games. Normal games is fine to keep the regular chat how it is. Do you think that chat, because I know a lot of people might disagree with me saying, oh, chat's really important, you got to call out, what you're going to do, but I think with pings, you don't really need chat all that much, and I think if you could only send 5 messages per 10 minutes, that would make chat, like, actually used for its purpose. Do you think that that's a good point, or do you think that chat should be left how it is?
I kind of agree and disagree with what you're saying. You brought up the idea of having about 5 messages every 10 minutes, that's insane to me. I don't know if you meant that literally or if you were just giving an example, but I do kind of agree with the fact that pings can be used as effectively or even more effectively. I think chat can be important, but like you said, it does have a negative effect or little to none effect in some games. So a restriction might be a good idea. Maybe Riot should look into it and test it out, see how it works, but I don't think it's the most important thing in the game. And I think there's other things that could be looked at, but like I said, at the same time, there are some benefits that could be coming out of that. All right, I think you could share a very similar opinion about this next topic with me, and that is I think solo queue should be the main focus of League. And what I mean by that is that they should remove flex queue so that solo queue is the main focus, and they should bring back ranked fives. So what do you think about that?
Absolutely, I think ranked 5s, I miss ranked 5s so much. I think flex queue is just a waste of a queue. It's basically glorified normals at this point. Like, no one actually takes flex queue seriously. So like you said, make solo queue the main focus. I think solo queue already is the main focus, but I do think that flex queue is just not needed at all in this game. No one goes into a game and is like, oh, wow, this guy's platinum or diamond in flex queue. Holy hell, what a good player. No one ever looks at your flex queue rating. No one cares. When I go into a flex queue game, it's just practice. Like, that's me playing normals, basically, so I can get a little bit better competition. Like, I just really don't think that people care about that queue, and ranked 5s was something that I always got really into because you had a queue with a team of 5. It made it unique. You couldn't just go into a game by yourself and get a rank. Like, it was about the teamwork. That was what made it so competitive and so fun, and I definitely miss that. I'm not saying that I personally would even be playing ranked 5s anymore, but I know that I used to love to play it, and so there's probably a lot of people that would get into it. And with flex queue, I think it's pretty unanimous that people don't really like it. You're basically just putting a rank behind normal queue. That's what it is, in my opinion. So
yeah, no offense to people that like to spam flex queue. I mean, it works. Like you said, it's just like a glorified normal if that's kind of your play style. But I think they should keep that kind of play to normals and just bring the 2 ranks together again. Have 1 solo queue and 1 for ranked 5s.
All right, so moving on to what the 9th thing that I would change about solo queue, and for me, this is the last one that I have. And I think this could definitely help the report system and could possibly help with punishing players for being toxic or raging or trolling or AFKing or pretty much any of the reasons a player might get reported. And that's to add a set report reminder option on the in-game scoreboard. The reason why I think this is important is because when a game ends, it's really easy to forget to report someone who deserves punishment because you just autopilot after a bad game and try to instantly leave lobby. And yeah, you forget to leave a report on a player, and I know it happens to me all the time, and I think if I could simply click a button next to a player's name on the scoreboard that sends me a pop-up notification when the game ends to remind myself to report a player, that would greatly decrease the amount of times a player goes unreported because of me just being absent-minded. I just think some players do end up going unreported because people forget, and that could be like, because in the heat of the moment when you're really pissed off, you'll be like, I want to report this player right now, and you'll go and click the flag. But then after the game ends, all you're thinking about is, all right, I just want to get out of this game. Let's just play again. And so then you'll forget, and then like that player gets away because you forgot to report him.
All right, last but not least, I feel like this should be a very popular opinion upon the League community, but I just feel like it's not addressing much. And that is, I think champions that are underpowered or just underwhelming should be looked at for reworks. There's some champions in the game that are just so old and so out of date, and it feels like Riot just doesn't care and that they're not putting the attention that these champions deserve. I mean, Urgot is still in this game. Like, did you know that? Did you know that Urgot is still in this game? He's such a bad champion. There's so many champions that are like this that are just so bad, and they need to be looked at for reworks. And I just wish that Riot would put more time into these.
Well, like, when you watch the LCS, like, there's, like, the same champions, like, every year. Yeah, there's a few different champions that end up, like, coming out of nowhere and becoming meta. But for the most part, it's like you see the same percentage of champions, and just all these other champions are just like, they're just unviable. And they're unviable in not only in the LCS, but a lot of them are unviable in solo queue as well, just because they're just not good, and Riot just doesn't care about them. And it kind of depletes the purpose of having 130 champions in this game if half of them are pretty much useless, or like are, you know, you shouldn't use them, like Urgot, like you said. But with that being said, I think that's kind of a fairy tale. The amount of work and money, not that they don't have it, that would go into reworking all of these champions and making sure they're all balanced and seeing how that impacts the game, I do think it would be a tough task for Riot. That being said, I would like to see them, you know, put in some sort of effort to bring some of them back in every once in a while. Like they literally just don't touch much of these champions very often. Like you see a rework like maybe once a season, like where they'll do like a bunch of reworks on a few champions. But often these champions that are getting reworked are champions that aren't even that bad. Like they're champions that are already pretty good. They should focus their reworks on the ones that are like they're dead champions and they really need to be brought back into this game. So yep, I think that would be a really interesting thing to see. And for solo queue, it would make it nice because, you know, I can actually think about playing other champions and not being stuck playing all these only meta champions or, you know, tier 1 champions. So that is where we'll conclude the 10 things we wish we could change about solo queue. Before you go, today's video is sponsored by HASTE. If you aren't satisfied with your ping, if you have choppy internet connection or jitter, or you find yourself disadvantaged because of your ping in game, look no further, because HASTE might have the service that you need to fix your ping issues and ultimately start to play much better. HASTE will only be free for 3 more weeks. After that, it will cost money to use their service, so now is definitely the best time to hop in and get HASTE. The link is down in the description. That's the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Keep in mind that these points we brought up are all theoretical, and some of them might not be possible, but as far as I'm concerned, if the right people heard about them, maybe they would get considered. But we did make this video just to get you guys thinking about it and see if this resonates with the viewers. That's going to be the end of the video, though. Be sure to check out Nasty, who joined us today, by clicking on his link in the description of this video. That's all from me, though. Until next time.